keynote is on the white paper that we just published, which is Digitize to Delight, and how to tackle the challenges in the food service industry through digitalization. Just as a context and prelude, and I think a lot of that has been discussed since morning, food, and if you can move to the next page. So as a context, the food services industry in India, being the third largest, is at an inflection point, as we call it. And the reason we say so is we strongly believe we are right now pretty much at a point where we are about to witness 6 to 7 years of high growth, and we call it golden era of growth for Indian food services. The underlying part of that is our affordability, or a surrogate for that is GDP per capita. That is at an inflection point. Right now we are at $2,600 per capita, and it is expected to grow. And what we did was a bit of analysis of putting a lot of geographies, developing and developed geographies, and to see as your income rises, and which is on the x-axis, how does the food services spend per capita goes up. And we see India is a small dot at 2023 point, and there are two sets of trajectories it could take, and we are calling it as the golden funnel. Depending on whichever trajectory it takes, the spend is going to rise exponentially. Where does that spend going to come from? It is going to come from increased number of occasions where I consume outside food. So a lot of statistics available on currently we consume thrice, or in urban areas 8 times in a month. That could go up. In a developed geography like Singapore, people consume outside food 25 times in a month. Similarly, there is also a demand that's going up, and similarly there is a supply ecosystem coming in, which means more and more chains expanding and scaling up their presence. So a chain which is 100 stores today likely will go ahead and become 300 stores. A chain which is at 1,000 stores will become 2,000 stores. And a lot of unorganized and smaller players will also enter the fray and become part of the organized market overall. What will it mean? And if you can go to the next page. What it essentially means is so as brands grow, as brands scale, the comparative intensity will go up. And the question that every CEO will have is, and we have kind of put that across 4 parameters, right? First is, how can I make sure my brand is able to capture consumers' mind share? There are a lot of competing brands, there are a lot of competing cuisines, and it is a battle that has to be won every day. Every day we consume food 3 times, and there is always an option. So technically I can consume food 90 times in a month, and hence which cuisine and which brand which I choose will be a question, and hence the brand which is able to capture the consumer's mind will likely benefit. The second question that CEOs will have is, now I am expanding, how can I ensure consistency of consumer experience across? Whether I consume in north part of India or south part of India, whether I consume my cuisine in a metro or a tier 1 or a tier 2, how can I make sure there is seamless consistency of consumer experience? The third area that CEOs worry about is, given my brand operations, so there is a front end and there is a back end, and hence a lot of work goes at the back of the house, logistics, supply chain, hub and spoke models, how to make sure this operations is scalable. India is a very big country, and hence logistics and distances matter a lot. How can it be more scalable? How can it be most cost efficient? And how can I get the maximum productivity out of all of my assets, including my people who are at my stores? And the last, which is again the off question, is how can I make this business much more sustainable, and sustainable not only for the environment, but as a win-win for both for the business as well as the environment. And in that process, the question always gets asked, how can digitization support in each of these 4 strategic agendas? Many times what we see is people think of digitization as an end use case, whereas for us, it is a means to an end. The end goal is essentially these 4 strategic agendas. Digitization can only help you achieve those in a meaningful way. If we could go to the next page. And then people always talk about how many use cases are there. I've heard about this technology, I've learned about this technology. Frankly speaking, the number of use cases that we have come across is humongous. What we have just tried to list is 50 plus use cases, but my sense is the number will be probably double or triple of that. And there are technologies available across everything, right? So starting with, gaining consumers' mind share. So yes, can I have a geo-fencing based push notifications when somebody comes near to my store? Or the simplest way is I have a digital menu. Can that digital menu change by the time of the day? And depending on the time of the hour. So if it's something before lunch, can I show more coffee? If it is during lunch, can I show my cuisine as, items which you want to consume as a meal? And similarly, covering different parts of the day. Similarly, there are tools available or digital use cases for customer experience and engagement. So consumers witness your brand through different means, right? So for me, the simplest is tabletop ordering using QR codes. But actually, I can go beyond, and I can say, once I open my drive-through stores, can I have a technology to even read the number plate of the car so that I know which consumer is coming and hence prepare accordingly. Then similarly, there are lots of areas for margin efficiency improvements. The world started with basic time attendance tracking to make sure the payout, the finance payout at the end of the month is right. It has actually gone much beyond, and it is this demand sensing and predicting demand basis causal factors and saying this is what will be the sales this week or this day, and hence I need to prepare accordingly so as to minimize wastage. Similarly, the last is sustainability and traceability. It started with pretty much energy management systems, IoT sensor-based, can I switch off my lights at the right time of the day? Now people are actually progressing towards traceability and batch tracking. A company like Starbucks thinks a lot about traceability because that, for them, the bean is most important, and hence, where is the source, where does it come from, and that authenticity of that bean becomes really important, and hence they are using AI for that. If you could move to the next page. So, essentially the question is digitization a one-stop journey? I started today and 2 years later, is my digitization complete? The answer is no. What we see is typically it's a phased, and the answers will vary depending on the stage of life you are in. A chain which is less than 150 stores has to think a lot about, capex, because they will have limited financial freedom. For them, the solution can be less scale agnostic, and they might also they might not fully want a full customized suite for themselves, and hence a basic digitization is good enough. Whereas as you keep progressing, then you start thinking of whether this digitization use case makes sense. Is ROI for me justified? How much will I have to invest upfront? And most importantly, will it help meet my goal? And hence, whenever thinking of a digitization journey, the thing to think about is start with a clear strategic agenda, define a clear goal, identify the success metric, and then start the journey for digitization. Basis this, and if all of this is clear, is digitization simple? No. We do see a lot of challenges that come across, and if we can move to the next page, based on our implementation with different clients, there are different sets of challenges that everybody faces, right? If you can move to the, yes, sorry. If you can move to the last page, please. The page next. Next to next. Yes. And there are lots of different challenges that we see, right? Pretty much the journey starts with I'm unclear of my strategic goal. I want to do digitization, but the question is not clear. Forget digitization, tell me what do you want to achieve as the first goal. Second is, I have, how much investment will it take, and how much resources do I need to put? The question is, the teams are already overloaded. My IT team is anyways busy, working on day-to-day problems. Will this be an add-on problem to me? Should I outsource this to a special vendor? And if I outsource this, then will it be custom to me? Or will I be able to make sure it truly serves the purpose for which I started to implement it? The third is integrating a lot of legacy systems. The way restaurant chain starts is they will keep buying smaller and smaller modules. And at the end, you do not have a seamless IT architecture. You will have a collection of apps. Many of those cases, they are not interoperable. And hence, you always have to put in a layer on top of those to make sure the different apps or modules that you have put speak to each other. And then you add a digitization layer on top of it to achieve the goal that you envisaged for. Partner ecosystem, thankfully it is developing. There are more custom partners that are available now, and every year the number of partners available keep increasing. The biggest thing that I have seen where most digitizations fail is not understanding the cultural nuances. It always starts with a journey of, I do not believe this IT system will work. I have run this many years. I know without personalization it won't. And ability to let go of control to somebody which is a machine is the biggest mindset barrier that one needs to bring. I think the Go Pizza highlighted how even AI can actually help you make sure your recipe is right, and you do not need to be present or train the chef each time to make sure your recipe is being done right. So hence, giving that control and overcoming our own mental barrier is another big challenge. Then you have to think about before you move towards this digitalization program. So hence, I guess a couple of things to think about whenever you think of digitization. Be clear on strategic goal. Be clear on metrics that you want to impact. Be clear on KPIs. Be clear, go full in to invest, and then make sure the implementation happens the way you envisaged it. I guess once you do all of this, digital is a clear way to help make your brand stand out compared to as the, and you'll be able to thrive and seize the opportunity that holds for all of us. Thank you.